the hero just starts buying her underwear for some reason. Ugh. It was a little ridiculous and stupid. And Xaden we have no time to waste. I'm trying to film this reading wrap-up on my lunch break. And usually, reading wrap-ups take me an excessively long amount of time. For no reason. I just talk too much and I ramble. I'm gonna try not to do that today because I only have an hour to film this and we got 8 books to talk about. It's not even a lot, but I just cannot shut up about books, and they always end up going for longer than they should. Let's begin. The first book I read this month was Onyx Storm by Becca Yarros. This is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series following Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and it was actually really good. I would give this a solid 4-star rating. The other 2 books in the series were 3 stars for me. Not 3.25, not 3.5, not 3.75. 3. I didn't like them. I couldn't connect with the characters, and the writing wasn't my personal favorite. In this book, though, I don't know why everything changed. Everything I thought changed. Did a complete 180. All of a sudden, I love these characters. I love the romance. I love the plot. I love everything about this book, and I don't know what changed, but this was definitely my favorite in the series. I love the characters so much. I think that's the main thing for me, that the characters just seem so much more likable to me in this one. Violet was just so devoted and loyal. I just really admired her. And Xaden, I never really got the hype for him before. I was like, he's just a basic shadow wielder or whatever. Azrael's better. I still stand by the fact that Azrael is better. However, Xaden is completely winning me over. There were so many jealousy scenes in this book, and I think that's what did it for me, because I love a jealousy scene. And seeing him get all jealous and protective, it was so great. And of course, I love the dragons so much, because if you don't know, this is a book that's taking place in a war college that has a bunch of dragons. And they're training to be dragon riders and to fight with dragons in battle. So lots of dragons, and I love the dragons. I love Taran, especially. He's my favorite. He's so grumpy and pessimistic and just everything to me. And Darna, I love her so much. She broke my heart in this book. If you know, you know. That was devastating. I also loved the romance in here. Again, I never cared for Violet and Xaden together before. In the other 2 books, they were just like, okay to me, whatever. In the second book, I would even say I disliked them together because of all the unnecessary drama and conflict. In this book, I loved them. They were so devoted to each other, and I liked that the obstacles weren't them being obstacles to each other and just like arguing with each other. The obstacles were coming from outside forces, and they were working together to stay together against those outside forces. I just liked that they were on the same team. In the second book, I feel like she was on one team, he was on one team, and they were just fighting each other, so I didn't like the romance because it just felt like they weren't together, they were against each other. In this book, they are so solid, and I really like that. There's nothing anyone could do to break these 2 up. They are so committed to each other. They're very much ride or die people, and as a ride or die person myself, I love that. So this is a 4 out of 5. Oh, I didn't even tell you what I disliked. The reason it's not a 5 is because the pacing kind of fell off in the middle for me with the political stuff. It was mostly them when they were going to the Isles to try and negotiate. That's where it kind of lost me a little bit. I do understand why that stuff was necessary to the plot. Of course, it was very necessary. However, I feel like it dragged on a little bit. I feel like it could have went a little bit faster. I'm not saying to eliminate it completely. It was very necessary to the plot, but it could have been sped up. I did get a little bored during that part. Other than that, this was so good. 4 out of 5. Then I read Iron Widow by, I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, zhao? I know it's wrong. I'm trying my best. So sorry. This was incredible. One of the highlights of my month, and I was not expecting it to be because it is a sci-fi, and sci-fi has always been my least favorite genre besides nonfiction. But I love this so much. This is, okay, to get more specific, it is a sci-fi, but it's also historical, and at the same time futuristic, also dystopian. I feel like it's very genre bending. There's also a romance plot. So many things. This book is so many things. I'm gonna try to give you a plot in the best way I can, but it is kind of complicated. I'm also really bad at describing fantasy plots, but I'm gonna try. So this follows Zeshin, whose sister was killed. She was a concubine, and in this world, concubines can volunteer to enlist in battle, and in battle, women are killed. In this world, battle is not like, you know, soldiers, pew pew. In this world, there are giant robots, and women and men team up to control these giant robots, the women always end up dying at the end of the battle, and the men survive. And her sister is one of the ones who is killed, and she wants revenge. So she starts going after the man who killed her sister. That's the gist. There's so much more to this, but I feel like that's all I should say, because I'm just going to make it really confusing if I try to say any more. This was incredible. I love the sci-fi elements of this so much. Giant robots. I didn't realize this was something I wanted to read about so bad, but it is. So if you have any robot recs, drop them below. I love reading about robots. This is new to me, but I just thought it was so much fun, especially giant robots. That is so sick. Action scenes with all the robots fighting each other were so good. The writing is so good. They're all so intense and so fast-paced, and just, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time throughout the battles. This felt very new and fresh. The world, I've never read anything like this before, ever. Nothing even comes close to the plot of this book and the vibes this book gave. It just feels very unique. So if you're one of those people who's getting sick of every fantasy you read being an enemies to lovers book about a shadow wielder, read this, because it feels so new and fresh, and it doesn't rely on common tropes at all. It's so unique. The fact that it's set in the past, but it gives futuristic vibes. How? I didn't even know this was a thing you could do. But it's set during, I believe it was Imperial China. But then there's technology and giant robots, so it gives the futuristic vibe, even though it's historical. So I just thought that was so cool. I've never seen anything like that before. I love the futuristic stuff, and I also love the past stuff. We learned so much about China's history and culture, and I thought that was fascinating. We also delved so much into women's issues, and that also was so interesting to me. I minored in women's and gender studies, so I'm very, very interested in women's issues, and I feel like this brought up so much that I've never even heard of before. I literally minored in this. I took so many classes on this, and there were so many things in this book that I've never heard of before, and topics that I've never seen discussed. Like foot binding in China was a very prominent practice, and that is where they break all the bones in a girl's foot to make sure her feet are dainty and small, because that's what men want, and they want the girls to be married, and that's like the most important thing in this culture in this time period. It was just crazy to me. Like, there were so many things that were so fascinating to me about this book. I loved every second of it. Well, okay, it did lose me a little bit in the middle because of the romance. As a predominantly romance reader, this really surprised me, but I actually just wanted sci-fi and none of the romance. The romance kind of bored me a little bit. I feel like they didn't have much chemistry. I feel like it was taking away from the plot. Like, the plot was so intense and so fast-paced and battle everywhere, and then the romance is like just bland, I guess, for the most part. They did grow on me a little bit at the end, but for the most part I was not into the romance. Maybe I'll like them more in the second book, because like I said, at the end I did start to grow on them, so maybe I'll like them more in the second book. Speaking of the second book, I cannot wait to read it, especially with the way this ended. The cliffhanger is so crazy. I'm so ready for the second book. I don't have it in my hands. I need to go get it at the library, but I need to go pick it up ASAP. This was so good, and I cannot wait to continue this series. 4.25. Then I picked up Freida McFadden's newest. It's not her newest, is it? No, she just came out with the Tenant. This woman pops out books so fast. I don't understand how she does it. She has a book coming out every 3 months. It is wild. So this isn't even her newest one. It's her second to newest one, The Crash. This follows Tegan, who is 8 months pregnant, and she decides to go driving in the middle of a blizzard. Why? Why does she do that? Why couldn't she wait until the next day? I don't know, but if she did, we wouldn't have a book. She ends up crashing, hence the title. And for some reason, there's other people driving in the middle of a blizzard. She gets picked up by Hank. He takes her to his house, and he and his wife are like, hey, you should stay in her basement, because there's a comfy bed for you, and you can't leave now, there's a blizzard. So she goes to their basement, and then they decide they're gonna keep her in the basement. I didn't love this one. This is one of her weaker ones, in my opinion. It felt very, very predictable, which I feel like all of her books feel predictable, but this one was especially predictable. There was not a single thing that shocked me. The red herrings in here are so obvious. And after reading 4 of her books, I feel like I've picked up on certain clues she drops consistently. And so I feel like all her books just feel so predictable to me now. I'm also not loving the writing anymore. I didn't used to have a problem with it. And I'm not saying the writing is bad. It obviously works for a lot of people, and that's great. But I'm just finding it to be so simple, like very short, choppy sentences for the most part, which works well in the thriller, but my personal preference, I like something a little prettier. Even in thrillers, I like to appreciate the writing a little bit. So this is probably just a me problem. Like, it's a thriller. Short, choppy sentences make sense. But I don't know, it was kind of bothering me in here. and I feel like I couldn't get immersed because the sentences were usually so short, and it just felt choppy. I feel like it didn't flow. With that said, this was still really entertaining. All her books are entertaining. It was like a car crash you couldn't look away from, pun intended. You couldn't help but be entertained, even though it was a little ridiculous and stupid. I also like the fact that it was a locked-in mystery thriller. Those are my favorite kinds of thrillers, is when the character is somewhere and they can't escape. And she was in a basement with a broken ankle, and she's 8 months pregnant. Girly cannot escape. I love that in thrillers because it makes the suspense so much more suspenseful. When they can't possibly escape, they're stuck there. And anyone could do whatever to them. I feel like that amps up this intensity so much. So 3 out of 5. It was okay. Then I picked up this Nora Roberts bundle from a little free library. It includes The Winning Hand and The Perfect Neighbor. The Winning Hand was a 1 star. One of the worst books I have read all year. In fact, one of the worst books I've read in my entire life. I love Nora Roberts. I love her writing. I usually love her characters. I hated this. So sorry, Nora. But this was her worst book. I have so many issues with this. This is going to be a very long, ranty review. This is about a girl who is trying to escape an abusive relationship. And so she runs to Vegas, gambles the last $7 she has, and ends up winning the jackpot. She wins $2 million. And the man who owns the casino, he's the love interest, he kind of takes her under his wing because love at first sight. That was my first issue, it was insta love, which I hate, but it is a pretty short book. I don't even think it's more than 300 pages. Hold on. Yeah, it's not even 300 pages. It's very short, so I could have dealt with the insta love, but it just continuously got worse. The insta love was actually the worst of this book's problems, and that is a problem. One of the things I had an issue with was the way she escapes her abusive relationship. It's just so easy. She wins the jackpot and then she just gets everything handed to her from there on out. Like, she gets a lawyer just handed to her. It's just offered to her. And the lawyer is the district attorney of the United States of America. What? Where did he come from? What? Everything was handed to her. Every single thing. The hero just starts buying her underwear for some reason. And bras and clothes just for no reason. He literally just met her and he's just like, oh, let me buy you clothes since you don't have money. It just felt so unrealistic, and I feel like it kind of does a disservice to actual abuse victims trying to escape a relationship. It does not come this easy to them. Literally everything was handed to her. She didn't have to struggle for anything. She didn't have to work for anything, and no abuse survivor is having it this easy. So that was my first issue. Also, the abuse storyline I feel like was kind of underdeveloped. It was talked about in the beginning and then just kind of forgotten about. She didn't seem to have any trauma. It was just like she was totally fine after she left, and actual abuse victims would carry things on from that relationship, whether it be trauma or just side effects. It doesn't just like happen and then you're perfect, you know. That's something that affects you deeply, and it just didn't seem to affect her at all. She was perfectly fine and dandy the whole time. It's getting kind of hot in here. Okay, the show must go on. My break is, I'm already halfway through and I haven't even talked about 4 books yet. I knew this was gonna go over. Okay, let's continue. Let's hurry up. Another thing, I need to talk about one more thing about this book because it really, really, really hindered my enjoyment of this novel. I shouldn't say enjoyment because I didn't enjoy a single second of this. This is an age gap romance, and I do not mind age gap romances at all, unless it's creepy, of course. And this was one of the creepy ones. She is like 22 years old. It shouldn't have been creepy. 22 or 23, I don't remember exactly. She is not 17, 18, so it shouldn't have been creepy. It was though, because he infantilizes her so much. She is a grown woman and he treats her like a child, and he talks about her as if she is a child incapable of making decisions for herself. He'll talk about her innocence and how her skin is as smooth as a child's and how her body and her weight is the same as a child's. There were so many similes and metaphors that compared her to a child. It made me very uncomfortable and I just felt so icky, and it was constantly emphasized that he was so much older than her, and it just made me feel so weird. And it shouldn't have, because she's 22, 23 years old. She's not a baby. She's a fully grown woman, capable of making her own decisions. That's not how it felt in this book. The hero is very condescending towards her. He thinks he knows everything better than her. Even how she's feeling. He'll tell her how she feels and how to live her life. Very patronizing, very condescending. I couldn't stand him or this romance. And then the second book in this bundle was The Perfect Neighbor, which was slightly better, but still not very great. This was about 2 neighbors. Nice one. The Perfect Neighbor is about 2 neighbors. Yeah. It's a grumpy sunshine dynamic. They They live across the hall from each other. And she shows up at his door to give him treats because she's like, oh, a new neighbor, let's say hi. And he's very grumpy about it. For some reason, I don't know why, he's not more appreciative of the baked goods. This one also felt really unrealistic to me. The way the MMC, his name's Preston, which I don't like that name. I don't like that name in a hero. It's a side character. Fine, good, great. As a main character, and a grumpy one at that, that is not a grumpy main character name at all. Preston, all I could imagine was this preppy schoolboy. I could not imagine him as a dark-haired, broody neighbor. His name was not giving. Anywho, so I don't know why I put my foot up there. That was less comfortable than where I was before. Okay, going back down. Anyway, what was I saying? I totally forgot, and I need to hurry because I think I have like 20 minutes left, or 15. Okay, I need to hurry. What do I have to say about this? Very unrealistic. Preston does a complete 180 in regard to his feelings about her. It was very jarring and didn't feel authentic at all. No one changes their personality and their opinion this quickly. It was within like 3 pages. He was grumpy and aloof and distant, and then 2 pages later, he was all of a sudden super lovey-dovey and flirty with her, and it was so weird. It caught me off guard. I literally had to like reread the other pages because I was like, did I miss something? No, that's just how it was written. It was very jarring. He went from pretending he couldn't stand her and slamming doors in her face to asking her to get naked and cook for him. It was really weird. Another thing that I didn't like about this is once they enter friends with benefits arrangement, and once they enter that, their relationship is so repetitive. They just enter this constant stream of fighting and having sex. I feel like it got to the point where the only good thing about the relationship was the sex. Everything else was bad. They would just fight, and I didn't understand why they were even together because sex is not enough to make a relationship last. I got real tired of the constant fighting and arguing. So I gave this 2 stars. There were some cute scenes. They were pretty few and far in between. I'll take what I can get though. It was definitely better than the first book in the series, which is why it's getting 2 stars from me, not 1, but still not great. And then the next book I read it's in here somewhere. It's in my bag. Okay, there it is. After Hours on Milagro Street. This cover is so glossy. Can you even see it? There you go. After Hours on Milagro Street by Angelina M. Lopez. Why is this cover so glossy? This is the glossiest cover I've ever seen. Why is it reflecting the sunlight so much? This is about a girl named Alex who wants to take over her grandma's bar. So she moves back into her old hometown to take over the bar, and then she finds out that her grandma is thinking about selling it to Jeremiah. And she's pissed. So they got a little bit of an enemies to lovers thing going on. And then also they are both living in very close quarters. So you also get forced proximity. And forced proximity plus enemies to lovers, that is such a good combination. I expected to like this more than I did, I will say. This was a 3 star for me. No decimals. I think it's just a solid flat 3 because it was just so smutty. Way too smutty. I don't mind smut. However, this was far too much. I just wanted them to sit and chat, you know, have some cuddles, talk, anything other than just having constant sex. And I also feel like the FMC, she was a little too mean sometimes towards the MMC, just very unforgiving and harsh, very judgy. She does have character development, which is good, but in the beginning, there were some scenes, I did like her overall, but there were some scenes that I just really rubbed me the wrong way. Again, though, she has character development. She is meant to be that way in the beginning, so I feel like I can't even complain about this because the author had a vision. You know, she wanted her to be that way in the beginning and then for her to have character development. So it makes sense, I guess. It was tough to get through in the beginning at times. I did like a lot of this, though. This wasn't a bad book. I did really like that it was opposites attract. He is very awkward and shy, and he's the professor, and she's this tough, tattooed bartender, and I just love the dynamic. There's also lots of bickering and banter because they're enemies, and there's a forced proximity situation going on, so they have to talk to each other despite hating each other, so arguing happens. There's also a scene in here where she is crying, and she runs out in the rain, and he chases her in the storm. That was so angsty and dramatic, and I loved it. That was definitely my favorite scene, and I had to highlight it in here because it was so beautiful. Then I read Destructively Mine by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is the second book in the Webs We Weave series. Took me a minute to remember what the name of the series was called. Webs We Weave. This is a series about con artists, which I love. Con artists in real life stink. In fiction, I love reading about them. I think they're so fascinating. The way they con people, I just love. being in on it. Being in on the scheming and the heists. Everything about it is just so fun to me. Shows and books and movies about con artists get me every time. This was no exception. This was a 4.25. I loved it. I love the found family is so good. Krista and Becca Ritchie are the best writers of found family. I am obsessed with every family they create. This to me has the same effect as the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. I feel like it's only going to get better from here. This is only the second book in the series, and it's only going to grow, and I feel like I'm going to get so attached to these characters. I already am so attached, but the more it goes on, the more attached I'm going to become, just like I did with the Addicted series. I'm loving this series right now. The relationships all the characters have with each other are so beautiful, and every relationship is complex in its own way, and just the way everyone comes together, it is just so beautiful. I love the found family in here. I also love all the characters as individuals. Literally every single character I'm obsessed with. I cannot wait to get the other books in this series. I'm sure the authors are going to give the side characters their own books, and I am so incredibly excited to read them. I am obsessed with this series. Already, we're only on book 2. It's only going to go up from here. The reason it's not a 5 is because I feel like this only happened like 3 times, but there was 3 times where it felt like a chapter was missing. Like, say we were in chapter 4, something's happening, and get to the next chapter and we're no longer doing that thing. We're somewhere completely else. And then a couple of pages later, it would mention the thing we were doing before in just like brief summarization. It was important enough to mention. Still, I feel like we should have just had the scene and seen it firsthand instead of having a super brief description. It felt kind of jarring. Like we were in one place and then the next chapter would be somewhere else. And we would no longer be doing that thing that we were in the middle of doing. It just felt a little clunky to me at times. But still, I really love this. 4.25, maybe even 4.5. I really love this. Oh, wait. I forgot to mention one thing. The smut. Not great. Not great. The first 2 scenes were like, ooh, exciting, yay! And then every scene after that was exactly the same. They have one kink and they capitalize on that. Throughout the whole book, every single smutty scene felt exactly the same. And I wanted a little bit of variation. Those are my only complaints. I love this. I love the romance especially. I love a childhood friends, kind of. I don't even know if I'd say friends. Kind of. Frenemies, maybe is a better word. Child frenemies to lovers dynamic, because they have so much history. It's just so beautiful. And then they also have so much snarky banter, and I live for that. So I love them. Moving on to the last book, we got 6 minutes to talk about. Where is it? Good Girl, Bad Blood. It's not in my bag, it's in my other bag. Okay, this one's zipped up. Hold on. I will get it in a jiffy. Why did I say it? Why did I say jiffy? Jiffy peanut butter. That's what I think of whenever I hear that word. I can't believe I just used it in a sentence, unironically. Am I 80 years old? Okay, last book. Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, which follows a high school student solving murder cases or missing person cases. In this book, Pippa no longer wants to be a detective because of what she went through in the first book. She faced so much trauma from solving that case and found out things she never wanted to know. So she vowed to not be a detective anymore. However, that doesn't last very long because her friend Connor tells her that his brother is missing and the police are not doing anything because he's considered low risk since he has a history of running away. He's also 24 or 23 or 22. I'm so bad with ages. He's somewhere around there though, early 20s. And the police would rather expend their resources looking for children or sick people or just someone else. He's considered low risk. They think he's just fine, so they're not gonna put in the effort to find him. But Connor and his mother are very worried about their son/brother. So they go to Pippa to find him. And she feels like she has to do this because it's her friend, it's someone she knew personally, and she wants to make sure he's found safe and sound, and because the police aren't doing anything, she has to do it herself. And that's one of the things I don't love about the series, is that she's in high school. And people are asking her to solve these cases as if she's not a high school student. She's just a child. Why are we making her do this? Why are we asking her to do this? It just felt like such an unfair request of a child. The fact that his mother came to her and was like, you have to find my son. Girl, why don't you just hire a private investigator? She is in high school. I've said this so many times, but like, I really want to emphasize this more. She is in high school. She is a child. She is in school for half the day. And then afterwards, she's just like solving this murder case. She doesn't even have the time. I mean, she does have the time because that's why we have this book, but it just seems so ridiculous that people are asking her to find their missing kids instead of asking a private detective or anyone else. I understand saying like, hey, could you talk about this on your podcast just to get it more traction so people will be aware and start looking, but asking her to single-handedly solve the case of her missing son seems a little crazy to me, and it's very dangerous. I just, that's one thing that took me out. I was like, I can't imagine people asking a child to solve these cases. It also felt very slow to me. I wish it would speed up a little bit because it's not thrilling when it's this slow. And I did want to be thrilled. I wanted to be on the edge of my seat, but I wasn't until like the very end when the pace picks up a little bit and thrilling things are actually happening. But for the most part, this didn't feel like a mystery thriller. It just felt mundane, I guess. Not, I don't know if mundane's the right word, but I was bored for a big chunk of this because the pacing was so slow. It's not all bad though. I did really love the romance in here. Pippa and Ravi are so cute. The playful, teasing banter. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I'm so soft for them. They're adorable. I also like the way it's formatted. It's not formatted like your typical book. Well, it kind of is. Like there's pages like this that are just words, you know, like how most books are formatted. But then there's also pages where, let me find an example. Why are they not coming up? Like there's maps in the middle of the book, and I remember there was a picture on one page. Oh, here, there's a search party invitation that was posted on the internet. There's just, and I remember there was reviews and newspaper articles, and here's one of the pictures of evidence they find. I just think that adds so much to the story. It's like a very little thing, but it makes it feel more real and more fun. Calling a murder mystery fun is kind of crazy, but I had a fun time. What can I say? Whenever the pictures would pop up, I'd get so excited for no reason. Anyway, I'm late. I'm about 2 minutes late. I need to go back inside. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading wrap up. Tell me what the best book you read, also the worst. Give me both. I need to know what to read and what not to read. I'm moving around a lot because I'm trying to put my shoes on. Okay. Sorry if that's a little distracting. Okay. Bye.